So when we talk
Very.
about, for instance, waste management, you need to have a real connection with the town that you are in, the county and the government, to make sure that you have all the infrastructure around you to be able to talk about tons of capacity.
Now, as I understand, continuous manufacturing does reduce your environmental footprint, correct? So I'm curious, could continuous manufacturing become viable for large scale GLP-1 production?
Uh, if I can start here,
Yeah,
we have a
absolutely.
real good example. Actually, more than half of our process, they are what we call in a continuous mode already. So the upstream, more fermentation and recovery, we are in a continuous flow mode, and then we have more a batch cadence for the purification. Yeah, so but more and more we are working for this continuous flow by using the lean manufacturing tools to get the flow in our production, to get right first time, and then we can produce more efficiently with the right quality, obeying all and being compliant with all the regulations. And also, when we talk about analytics, for instance, we are using a lot of inline analysis already, and we have some at line that we call that is very fast results that we can calculate the load of the columns, for instance, for chromatography, and have better yields and reduce a lot the scrap or the what we send for the waste, for instance. In this way, creating this flow, we can reduce a lot our footprint and what we do, and having better yields and much more product around our process.
I think that definitely there is a possibility to incorporate continuous manufacturing. Uh, as I was describing, as the chromatography become the bottleneck, so you can produce a very, very large amount of crude material that you need to purify, you can make purification a continuous process. So for example, instead of running batch chromatography, there are new technology, the multi-column gradient chromatography, where you can automatize the execution of the purification in a way that you have a constant stream of product being produced. And if you were to consider, for example, spray drying, I'm a big proposer of spray drying. Spray drying is a continuous process. So you basically have, I don't know, tons of crude material, and you can set up the dissolution of this material in batch, but this batch are continuously processed. So at that point, you have a continuous manufacturing that is defined in terms of batch that you produce only by your decision to call that a batch. So you would say every 50 kilo that's in the bags, that's my batch, and I will release the 50 kilo. Now, obviously, if you do something like that, you have to be confident that over this continuous manufacturing, you constantly achieve the same quality. And that's one of the big challenges. It's going to be how do you assure that your process is robust enough to absorb variability. There are many variability in a continuous manufacturing, from the stupid one, which could be the temperature or the water production. There are many variability you can see, and you have to do all the experiment and build this process before we some approach, which is called, for example, quality by design, to assure that this continuous manufacturing is delivering again and again at every given minute the same product. And I'm sure Nova is looking at this type of things.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
this is exactly what we use. For instance, we have our spray dryer in our process, and we are doing more and more continuous as soon as we have, more and more control. So as you said, it's a multi-million product. So when we produce, so we need to make sure that, we can produce continuously with the right quality that will be released afterwards. But that's is the direction that we are taking our spray dryer.
And when you're looking at the production, how do you create an environment of operational excellence? How do you make sure that the operations are set up to run smoothly and to tackle any challenges that may arise?
Uh,
Leo, you want to take
just
that one
for me, if I
first?
can, if
Yeah,
I can
absolutely.
start that, for me is where it really touch my heart is when we talk about again the Lean Six Sigma and lean manufacturing, right? Because for me is really to create and develop the right people to really a road doesn't matter if you have, for instance, in this scale that I just mentioned to you, is a big facility. We need a lot of knowledge around our process. So we develop people. We team up with our community colleges here in Johnston County. That we have the bioworks. So we train. We spend a lot of invest on people here in development. So this for us is very important because when we talk about lean manufacturing, it's not just about tools. It's about really the people and development around us. So this is what will bring the operational excellence. Is about stability, right? Is to do the right thing every time that you are running the process. It's a kind of cadence that you keep there. And you cannot do that just with machines or with automation. We really need to specialize people with the right knowledge around the process. And this for us is really important.
When you're going to introduce new ideas or parameters, Leo, do you employ digital twins? Is that a technology you use at Novo Nordisk?
Yes, digital twins is one of our pillars also because we have a kind of the entire facility in a model where what we call the digital twin, right, where we can simulate a lot of ideas. So we are very open for new ideas. We collectively have a bunch of these ideas that we can simulate and see the real or very close to the reality so we can invest and make sure that we are prioritizing the right projects, for instance. So this brings to us big agility and fast, that we can react. And in this way, we can have a better color product, lower the impurity level, for instance, and have better yields. This, at the end of the day, is what we expect because we know that demand is very high and we have a lot of consumers and patients outside waiting for our products. So this is part of our decision
Mm-hmm.
process is the digital twin.
And I want to talk about AI a little bit later, but I do want to jump into the analytical discussion because I know that that's on everybody's mind and certainly one of the main reasons we're here today. I'm curious, Matteo, as we move into large scale manufacturing, what advanced or standard analytical tools become necessary, and what risks or attributes do they help address?
Well, one of the big challenge of almost every GLP-1 product is aggregation. And so this is one of the field where, because the things that determine aggregation are tricky to define, the variable that determine aggregation, small variability can cause aggregation. A lot of things are now pushed over testing aggregation through in process and not just getting to the end of the process and define and see how much aggregates I have and discovering that you have everything. So it used to be that aggregates were an analytical tool at the end of the process. Before release now, there is a higher demands to monitor aggregation through the process. The other thing is, in my opinion, you need to, especially when you go toward continuous manufacturing, rather than capture a very, very large volume of sample, you need to understand how can I use my sampling uses a statistical based approach so I can reduce the number of sampling but at the same time, sample at the right moment and time. And I think these type of things are very well suited for artificial intelligence. These are the type of thing where you can use artificial intelligence to make decision either to define your sampling or to introduce demand for extra sampling because there was a little excursion in the process.